Hi, welcome to another edition of LogicMonitor's World's Shortest Webinar Series. This one will be focusing on getting MySQL monitoring up and running in minutes rather than hours. My name is Steve Francis. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of LogicMonitor.com, so let's get started. Okay, one of the questions we always get asked is, given that we are a hosted service, does that not involve you compromising your security and opening up your firewall so that we can talk to your servers? Answer is absolutely not. So this is just a quick overview of how we do that. The customers download a small Java agent that runs on either a Windows, Linux, Solaris, virtually any kind of machine inside the data center. It has no incoming connections, but makes only an outgoing SSL connection, all encrypted through port standard 443 or through a proxy, to the LogicMonitor servers in our data center, pulls down its configuration, uses those instructions to talk to the devices inside your data center behind the firewall using SNMP or the NTP protocol or custom APIs or JDBC or WMI if we happen to be talking to a Windows device. And it then takes that data that it collects, post it back to the central LogicMonitor servers. So there's never any need for you to adjust your firewalls. So let's have a look at how easy that makes it. If we want to add a new host, so we add a new host, all we have to do is put in its host name. We can change the way it displays. We can, if we want to, put it in some statically configured groups, or we can just submit it as it is. One feature LogicMonitor has is dynamic groups. In this case, the membership of this group is based on any host that has the word beta in its name, so it's very easy to create dynamic groups that are based on the role of machines. You can have all databases in one group, all Linux machines in one group. They can be based on the function and capabilities of the machine, so you can say all Citrix NetScalers in a group. If you ever add a new system, it'll automatically be placed in the appropriate groups. So in this case, we just added this host. We don't know much about it yet. So far, all we're doing is pinging it, but in the background, the LogicMonitor agent has been told, you have a new host, go figure out what kind of host it is. It will detect whether it is a storage array, a load balancer, a router, Windows box, Linux box, what have you. Given that, it'll report that back to the central server, which will then come back with more questions. So now we've identified that at this point, this is a Linux box, it's running this kernel, this SNMP agent, so we immediately know that we will be asking it these kind of questions, but that's also told the server, given that this is a Linux box, you need to figure out what interfaces it has, what applications are running, how many physical drives it has, how many file systems it has, and that's also being reported back. So that's probably being reported back. There we go. Now we've discovered everything about it. So relevant things for the database admin is all the physical disks, all the logical disk file systems. On this system there only happens to be one, but space is being monitored. MySQL, it's running InnoDB, and it's got a replica. There won't be much monitored yet at this point, because obviously we just discovered it, so we don't have a history. So if we look at a more interesting box that's been running for a while, so here we can see some of the MySQL data that you get by default from LogicMonitor, the number of joins, the query cache hit ratio, and then some more detailed statistics on the query cache performance. So LogicMonitor has a lot of very intelligent alerting, not based on simply greater than absolute variables, but involving composite multiple data points. So for instance, the alerts for the query cache can trigger if the number of prunes is excessive relative to the number of hits, in which case it can recommend actually turning off the query cache. If the number of hits is fairly substantial, but the number of prunes and inserts are also high, then it recommends increasing the query cache and so forth. So it has a fairly intelligent set of heuristics there. All this information is available for over a history of time. 3 months. We can see it used to be a lot worse. So if we can zoom in on that period of time, and we use this to notice that this particular value was getting high, that we were doing quite a few read next of what should have been indexed operations, and we used that to adjust the application, improving the performance significantly. So before the tuning, we were doing 5,954 read random nexts per second. Afterwards, we were doing 328, so quite an improvement. Other useful data when you're tuning MySQL is the InnoDB usage. If you happen to be running InnoDB, this will detect that and tell you the hit buffer rate, whether the log waiting and redo logs are adequately sized, and the actual file system reads. So obviously everything's being cached on this particular system. One nice thing LogicMonitor has, it's not just MySQL operations, but you get complete operating system data too. So in this case, you can see your CPU, you can see your interface traffic, detecting bonded interfaces, memory usage. If we look at the CPU load, and you also get complete hardware monitoring. So this particular one is the RAID controller battery is being monitored, the chassis is being monitored for fans and temperature failures, the rate of disk I/O is being monitored for the different physical drives. This particular server happens to be running Java, so we've got some native JMX collection going on as well. So you can see the heap, the threads, you can see application-specific data for Tomcat, postfix, and if we look at a different server, you can see LogicMonitor also detects when the server is in fact a slave, monitors the absolute time replication lag, the clock time replication lag, and also monitors the status of the replication daemons, whether the slave I/O is running and the slave SQL process is running, and the lag as reported by show slave status, which isn't necessarily the same as clock time lag. Some key takeaways: it really is that quick and easy. Add the host into the LogicMonitor system, and LogicMonitor figures everything out. It figures out if it is running MySQL, if it's a slave, what kind of database engine it's running, plots everything for you, has intelligent multi-threshold alerts. You can see everything over time. Everything you need to monitor is monitored. It's not just MySQL, but includes the whole span of the operating system, from the storage to the hardware to the CPU and memory and any other applications. And it's not just for Linux or Windows servers. It includes router monitoring, the storage hardware, if you're running NetApps or Data Domain, what have you, various applications, your UPS and power management systems, and it's very affordably priced. So thank you for joining us for this next installment of the LogicMonitor World's Shortest Webinar Series. If you have any questions, do check us out at www.logicmonitor.com or give us a call at 1888-41-LOGIC. Thanks very much.